Election day is right around the corner, and it's heating up on both sides, Democrats and Republicans. Spotlight on the Republican side is Mr. Tim Westley running for Congress for CD 15. I hope you're doing well today, sir. Now, let me ask a little bit about your background. What are some of the things that you've done in the past, some of the offices you have hold, your job experience, that kind of thing, in relation to the congressional spot in CD 15?
Unique thing about what I've done in my recent past, I'm a college professor at 2 universities, and as a college professor, I'm also the Humanities and Science Area Chair at one of the universities I work at. And during this particular position, I've been able to teach things like critical thinking. And we all know that when it comes down to Congress, comes down to getting legislation pushed through, comes down to getting things passed in the halls of Congress, one has to be a critical thinker. I've not only taught critical thinking, but I've also applied critical thinking. And so that's going to be the unique position that I go in as a critical thinker, one that's able to research, one that's able to listen to constituents, one that's able to make things happen. And so that's going to be the portion of the background I like to highlight as something that's going to help me in this particular position.
Now, CD 15 is a very uniquely drawn district. You have the northern part of it around Seguin near San Antonio, and then the rest of it is down in the Rio Grande Valley. How do you balance the needs of both sections?
Ultimately, it's about utilizing the resources that we have. I've been able to, over the last couple of months, be able to talk with people throughout the district, from the northern to the central to the southern portion, to balance what's taking place, making sure that I'm not only talking with constituents, but listening to them, be it the precinct chairs, be it people that are actually community leaders, community business personnel, listening to them, finding out what their needs are, and also having an open door policy, one whereby they're already seeing that I'm not just a name, I'm not just someone that's going to be on the ballot, but I'm someone they can reach. And so that's going to be our goal, to make sure that wherever our office is located here in the district, that they're able not only to reach out to us and contact us, but also to get contact back. We know that technology is a great thing, a useful thing, so we're going to utilize things such as social media to reach the people that are the young people that's coming up in the district. We're also going to be able to reach people that are up in age a little bit. What we found out through statistics is that people that are 55 and older, they're actually utilizing social media as well. So we're going to utilize things like that to reach them, to connect with them. We're going to utilize things such as mailing, et cetera, in order to reach our constituents and to hear from them. So what we found out in just a couple of short months is that as large as this district is, as far as geographic is concerned, it's actually small when we're communicating with people.
Let me pick your brain for a second. Some of the hot button issues around the Rio Grande Valley. Border security, it's a great big deal. Do you feel like we should get more of it, or do you think we should keep things the way they are, backtrack a little bit?
Obviously, when it comes down to border security, we're going to have to increase. We're going to have to increase. Uniquely, if we look at things what's taking place around the nation right now, we hear a lot of talk about building the fence. But many people don't realize that to build that fence, we're talking 1,900 miles. 1,900 miles, and we're also talking $22 to $25 billion. Think about that for just a moment. Most may not realize it, but we're talking, on average, it takes about $4 billion, $45 billion to operate our border from Texas all the way to California. We're talking about 5 times that amount on a fence. So my thing is that why not reuse those funds or utilize those funds that we're going to have allocated for a fence for things such as technology, et cetera. And here's the great thing. I just spoke with some of our boots on the ground when we talk about Border Patrol agents. And what they need most is to make sure that we're adhering to something that I love to carry with me and keep with me, I believe in, and that's our U.S. Constitution. When we're adhering to our Constitution, that means that we're going to, in actuality, we're going to take the laws that we already have on the books, we're going to apply those laws, because what I found out firsthand is that as long as we're waving a carrot on this side of the border, we're going to have a problem with people not adhering to our laws, because they're going to find that we have a benefit to break the laws. And we don't want to reward lawlessness. We want to reward people that adhere to our laws that we have on the books already.
So as far as citizenship would go, are you for or against amnesty?
I am against amnesty, and one of the things I found out, if we were to look at things such as the DREAM Act, for instance, we find that that can lead to what we call amnesty. There are ways that we can do it again to make sure that we adhere to our U.S. Constitution, and also we bless those that are trying to come into our country. We want to make sure that we make sure that the benefit of those that are doing things the right way, they're actually going to be the ones that are rewarded. And so ultimately, we want to stick to our Constitution. If we want to change things, then what we do, we make sure that we try to go about it the right way. And how do we do that? We make sure we do amendments. That's what I would do. I would make sure that I go into the halls of Congress, I'll promote legislation that we can have an amendment done to the Constitution and we can have this thing ratified. But when it comes to amnesty, we're simply going to open up a Pandora's box. And as I heard again recently from boots on the ground, that's going to make it difficult. So no matter what fence we build, no matter how much technology we use, we're going to be fighting a losing battle because people have encouragement and reason to come over and find amnesty.
Issues. Open carry has been passed in the state of Texas, and they're currently discussing campus carry, the ability to carry a firearm on campus. How do you feel on the Second Amendment? Would you add more gun control, or would you let the Second Amendment flourish?
Ultimately, as we look at our Constitution and we look at the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms is a beautiful amendment. Ultimately, when we look at things like open carry, it's a great thing. Governor Abbott, I just heard him spoke about it here recently. That's something that's going to encourage the use of our Second Amendment. I'd like to point out a number to solidify the point that I'm about to make. We hear about gun violence. We hear about a number, and it's been tossed around quite a bit with this presidential election year, and that's 30,000 gun deaths a year. But I want to make a note that 20,000 of those deaths are due to suicide. So we know we have something that's going to be dealing with mental illness. That means there's only 10,000 deaths that's going to be due to gun violence. If we look at a place like Chicago, we'll see that they have the toughest gun laws, some of the toughest gun laws in the nation, yet it does not stifle the gun violence. And so new laws, of course we want to do common sense measures, but if we look at it, it's not going to be people that have guns legally, the concealed handgun carriers, et cetera, that's breaking the laws. We're going to find out that it's going to be the mentally ill, and it's going to be those that are breaking the law anyway.
Any veterans issues that you'd like to tackle as a policymaker?
Indeed. Being a United States Army veteran, 7 years active duty, I want to ensure that places like the Valley, that the veterans down here have access to the care that they need, be it a hospital that's going to be built, or be it access that they can get in order to get the care that they need. But what I don't want to see continue is that they're having to drive several hours to San Antonio in order to get care. I want to ensure that not only veterans' health care is taken care of, but also veterans' education. I want to see an extension of benefits so that when we have people such as vets that have their benefits exhausted, education benefits, they have other avenues to make sure that they're educated and their family members are educated. If we can see education coming to our veterans and their family members, what we'll see is a boost in the economy. And when we see a boost in the economy, we have additional income so that we can do things like additional border security, et cetera. So I want to make sure our vets are taken care of because I am a veteran, 7 years active duty in the United States Army. So I hold it to heart and it's dear to my heart. I've experienced what it feels like to be a vet in need of benefits.
Any last words that you want to tell the voters?
Ultimately, as I've told people before on my platform, I want to ensure that God is heard in politics again. I want to ensure that God's voice is heard in politics because ultimately when we look at our founding fathers and we look at the foundation of this nation, they were not void of God. We take God out of the equation, we have a problem. We put him in, we have solutions. My name is Tim Westley and I'm running for the United States Congress for 15th District, and I want to ensure that people know if I'm elected to represent them, I'm going to go and fight. And just as my voice was heard today, it will be heard in the halls of Congress and a change will be made.
Tim Westley running as a Republican for the Congressional District 15. Thank you very much for joining us today, sir.